Sanka, you dead? Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Xerath Prevails. We've got set 4 data Crons coming up here, guys. Conquest is launching the day this video is launching in a couple hours. So hopefully this can help you. Brief guide on set 4. I know that some of you don't like to engage in Datacrons, so that's fine. Video might not be for you. However, Datacrons are probably not going away, and as a direct result, I will almost certainly be engaging in them, as a content creator is bound to do. And frankly, I just kind of like them. There are serious issues surrounding them still. However, they're part of the game now, for better or worse. So if you want the infographic that I created, I spent all night making this, folks. You can go to my Discord server. It's found for free in the Infographics channel. I think it's toward the very bottom. And, it's a channel called Infographics. You can get it for free, get it to your guild. You can print it out and burn it if you hate Datacrons, or if you hate me. I mean, you could always do that. That's always an option, folks. I recommend printing in color and then burning that, because maybe some of those fumes will do damage to... No, let's actually not wish harm on people. Let's go to talk about the infographic for just a moment. I'm trying to make this a brief guide, folks. Just an overview on what we're looking for. Set 4 is interesting. Set 1 is going away, and I don't know what the exchange rate is going to be. That's going to be a really interesting thing that we're going to discover in a few short hours. And one way or another, this infographic goes over all the different level 3 targets, level 6, and level 9 priorities as I see them, and that listed from top to bottom. The Dash Rendar one is just completely bonkers. I think we're going to be countering Galactic Legends with it, and it doesn't even miss. You don't miss with it. It's crazy. You can see also just a really brief overview of set 1 transitions. Really important teams that we're using set 1 are going to be needing other sets, so just a kind of a reminder of what things to do, and then some teams that use the level 9 characters and kind of what their corresponding numbers for level 3, level 6, level 9. You can see the numbers on the left hand side here. Let's actually zoom in a little bit. I think I have an option for that. Yeah, you can see on the left hand side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You guys know numbers, right? You're literate, I hope. Let's hope you are. And you can see, P1, that's just priority 1. Priority P2 is priority 2. I don't know if I have any P3s this time. However, that's kind of what we're going for here, is just, number 1 in Empire is P1. I mean, most of Empire is going to want this cooldown. Reduce cooldowns by 1 every time they inflict a debuff, etc. That being said, why don't we go to the game and we'll look at some of these abilities a little bit more, intimately, I suppose. I think that the game is probably the better place to do this, folks. So let's get over there, shall we? Whoa, we're in the game. Madness. So first, I just want to point out that Security Primer is extremely boring name compared to this really cool Treatise Inquisitorius, Enduring Codex, Ardent Ideologies. Security Primer is boring AF. Yeah. This is going to be a really interesting set, guys, because it's all the dodges, all the things. I don't really talk about the stats in my infographic, so I guess let's look at the stats real quick. This is going to be really difficult, folks, and the reason I'm going to have to incorporate the stats at some point in my infographics, but this one is tricky because in reality, what's going to happen is on the very top end, the people who can re-roll all of the different stats, want to spend a lot of money on them, are going to re-roll so that they get dodge and deflection on all of their rolls. Now, the difference between dodge and deflection is important in some ways. Dodge is dodging physical attacks, whereas deflection is dodging special damage attacks. So, like, for instance, Fennec, the bounty hunter, does special damage, or Grandmaster Yoda, or Jedi Master Luke, so just to name a few. Those do special damage. So, if someone has a huge amount of dodge, but no deflection, then those characters with special damage are still going to hit at their similar rate, at the same rate. And vice versa. If someone has, so if they have if someone has a lot of deflection, you can use a character that has a lot of physical attack and that does physical damage and kind of negate that deflection. And so one of the things that we're going to be looking at here, guys, so we have crit avoid, and I don't know, that this is all just, like, all of these things are just a little bit frustrating, in my opinion. I mean, armor penetration, like resistance penetration, it's okay. But the main focus, for 4 months, we're going to have to deal with the evasion meta. And I, honestly, for stats, I recommend, if you guys hate dealing with all this nonsense, I would highly recommend, first off, learning all the different characters that never miss. Like Wampa, his AoE can miss, but his basic can always hit. Y'all also recommend setting people on fire with Jango or R2-D2, because that will reduce their total evasion amounts. However, I would also recommend just using physical and special accuracy on your stats if you can get it. That's going to help quite a bit. If you really want to cause frustration with your opponents, then get dodge and deflection. Of course you can. That's obvious. You can definitely do that. And I mean, I just think that at the top end, we're going to be dealing with people with, you know, it's crazy how much dodge you can get, guys. It just is. And I can't just spend a lot of time talking about it. It is just crazy. You can roll up to, what, 60% on this, up to another 40% on this. So you could get up to 120% dodge. So that someone has to actively have an accuracy arrow or not be able to miss in their mechanics in order to actually hit you. A little bit frustrating. However, we have to deal with it. So I would recommend, in general, just putting a lot of physical accuracy and special accuracy on your data crons. You could specialize them, or you can just stack them up as much as you can. And when your opponent has one of those crazy dodge and deflection crons, try to counter it with your own. I don't know. I think in general, however, you're going to want to have datacrons assigned to a certain squad, and therefore you should probably just go for generalized dodge and deflection for your whole squad, unless it's just physical damage squad, etc. Now, the other thing that you can do, which is an imperfect way of approaching it, is in level 3, for dark side and light side, they're the exact same, except one of them says light side, one of them says dark side. But this number 2 option, dark side allies are evaded, like when you're evaded by an enemy, that ally gains accuracy up for 2 turns, and they inflict evasion down for 2 turns, which can't be evaded. Now, this isn't perfect. It sounds like it's really good. However, accuracy up just gives you 15% accuracy. Evasion down just takes down, what, 25%, I believe. 25% of their dodge chance. And that's it. That's all you get. So it's a 40% swing. If someone has 120%, you're still going to have an 80% chance to miss. So it's not perfect, like I said. However, that is... and it only works for 2 turns, and then you have to miss again. So, not perfect, but this is what I would recommend for the vast majority of squads, just because, for the most part, people aren't going to have datacrons that are crazy missing. You're going to miss a lot. Gosh, that's so frustrating, man. Whatever, I can't get into that. I just really can't. Now, the other one that I really like here, guys, is number 3, but that only works. Note that, and I looked at the mechanics, it has to be more than 4, so it has to be 5 or more times. You have to critically hit enemies more than 4 times during your turn. That means in 3v3, you have to do multiple hits. You have to do 5 or more hits, and they all have to crit. It's not just being hit, it's critting. So in 5v5, if you do an AoE and you hit all 5 of them and you crit all 5 of them, this works. And then you stack 5% crit damage. However, for the most part, almost no character actually does this, other than a few good AoE characters. In 3v3, that's almost impossible. So I would recommend Dash is the only one who can really do it, because he does multiple hits and he crits quite a few times, and he auto hits. He doesn't miss at all, and he gets a ton of turns. He can just spam that AoE. So this is what I would recommend for Dash, and in 5v5 a few AoE characters, and that's basically it. In terms of faction, I think that the top one is Dreamy. For Empire, reducing your cooldowns by 1 almost universally is really strong. I don't really love this max protection thing. I think that's more for Nest on the smuggler side of things. You can gain bonus turn meter for when buffs expire, which works for like troopers, it works for like Darth Vader, everything. You guys can see the things that I've marked down. One thing I'll note is that Empire only has 3 characters that actually target another ally, and so I've marked those on the infographic. I can't remember the name of that for some reason, guys. I've done like 3 takes of this and I keep stammering over that. However, this one is pretty cool in theory, but if you only have 3 characters that can do this, like Thrawn, it really likes this, and you can actually use Thrawn with other... You can use it outside of the faction. So like Thrawn will hand an ability, he'll target another ally. So if he's like with, say, Traya, and you really want to boost Traya's stats for some reason, you probably don't, but if you did, then Thrawn can keep handing all this defense, max health, max protection, and offense to you. Thrawn can do it. I've noted all 3 of those on the infographic. See, on the data graphic. Now, for smugglers, you're probably just gonna, if you're using the Dash Omicron, Datacron, you're going to want, and you're probably gonna want the Omicron, honestly, if you're going to be doing that. So, smuggler ally gains prepared, reduce their cooldowns by 2. So, I mean, every time he gains prepared, so he's going to get rid of prepared and then get it again, reduces cooldowns, really cool stuff. This thing here, the True Grit, or the Grit, whatever, it's really nice for Nest, in my opinion, because she loses her max protection, but then she gets it in health, and then she can regenerate her health pool, so her protection pool, you could actually remod her if you wanted to and give her a ton of extra protection, and that will turn into health, and that's going to help her stay alive for a lot longer, and you can actually stack a bunch of tenacity on her as well. That could work pretty well if you wanted to start soloing things again. I don't really know if she's going to be able to solo things, frankly. I mean, this is level 6, and it's still, I mean, the thing is she doesn't miss, though, on any of her stuff, so that works. You could also give her this thing with, what is it? Yeah, the critically hit thing. She can gain a little bit of stacking offense slowly. I don't know. I like the True Grit on her. Now, the other one, of course, the targeting one that we talked about earlier, I think there are 4 smugglers. I've noted that on the infographic as well. Now, in terms of characters, Veteran Hod is not that important. However, he can stack quite a bit. And I like the bottom one here. So let's see. Whenever he critically hits an enemy, and he can do an AoE in 5v5, he can get this pretty quick because he is also hitting back and everything. So you have to get him Relic 7, which is, in my opinion, he's only 6 for me, so may as well get him up to 7. Easy enough for me. But every time he critically hits an enemy, which if he does an AoE in 5v5, that's going to be 50% gaining on critical damage, defense pen, and offense. And it stacks to 200. He'll be able to start really hitting hard toward the end of that. Not to mention he counters quite a bit. He can be pretty tanky, especially at Relic 7. He can do some pretty good stuff. Now, I did not actually add Scando to this document because I think he's going to be more for when Jabba is released. We'll see what happens with him. But I don't really know. I don't have a good read on what Scando can do, and I don't intend to wail on him. I don't think he's going to be that, like, you have to wail on him if you want to use him for relics, so I just kind of left him blank, just out of almost protest. I don't want to get used to, like, oh, hey, the new amazing Datacron is the one that you have to wail on. Like, I'm still 2 or 3 months out from getting him, so I'm gonna ignore. Now, Dash has a couple intriguing ones, folks. Whenever an enemy takes a turn, Dash takes a bonus turn. During this bonus turn, he does 100% more damage. He can't trigger this effect on enemies. You can't just like bounce back and forth. He does a lot of cool stuff with this. I mean, he's just gonna, you can always do basics and call other people to assist, like so Dash Han Chu in 3v3, he can just spam his basic and call them to assist. He can also spam his AoE if he wants. Every time someone takes a turn on their team, he's gonna take a turn. You know, it's gonna be crazy good. He's gonna be able to take down Galactic Legends, I guarantee it. Now, the other one that's kind of interesting, however, because you can stack this forever. Whenever Dash critically hits an enemy, which he can do that, I mean, gosh, in 3v3 even, it's just, in 3v3, he can still crit an enemy 9 times with his AoE. 9 times, so he's getting 50% max health, potency, and offense stacking until the end of battle. And it's just an open-ended stack, so 54 times, did I do the math right? 56 times? I don't know. I'm exhausted, folks. But all this potency doesn't really do that much, but max health and offense is amazing. And I guess potency for stuns and everything. And then you can just keep doing this. This is really good, especially because every time he gets rid of his whatever it's called, his prepared, then he gets to his cooldowns reduced again. It's very good. So you can do either one of those. I really prefer the one that he just like spams going. He just keeps going and going and going and going. He's like the Energizer battery. He's crazy. Now Lord Vader, so yeah, he gains 4% mastery stacking. Really good stuff. That is ridiculous. Whenever an enemy is inflicted with damage over time. So he gets it so often. It's really crazy. Of course, you have to have Lord Vader. You also get your ultimate charge really fast. This one is interesting because as diminishing returns toward the end when he gets his ult all the time. But at the early stages, getting your ult is difficult. And I think I would lean toward the ultimate charge, but this mastery stacking one is really good. And I'm intrigued. If I can possibly get both, I will try to get both. TIE Fighter Pilot. This one is really good. I don't really love this evades and attack. He gains some stuff and 50% turn meter. That might be good. It might be annoying. This other one is just like the dash one. He's going to be taking a lot of turns. He's really fast anyways, but he keeps going. He can do damage. He can do AoEs. He can be so. The thing I don't like about the TIE Fighter Pilot is I don't know what team he really fits on that well. Finally, Darth Vader. I love that he can finally, he's starting to do a huge amount of damage with dots. Dots normally do 5% max health damage, and so 300% of that is going to be what? Increased by 300%. Like they're going to start doing 20% max health damage for each dot. And if you have Vader as the lead, that one's really good. The other one is like, oh, if he dies, you just have an oh crap mechanic. Like, oh, he died, oh, he's back. He takes a bonus turn. Good for you, Vader. I mean, it's kind of nice to get... The one thing I will say about this, guys, is if you're like, man, I don't have enough turn meter, they're just going to blow me away, just kill me. You can just go in there, he'll die, and then he'll get a turn. He'll get a bonus turn, in fact, and then he'll be able to pop Merciless and get a word in edgewise. That's the nice thing about that. Now, real quick, let's look at a couple squads. I really don't want to spend a lot of time on this, though, folks. So I like Lord Vader with, I mean, Thrawn, it can work. You can do it with Maul, whatever. I mean, it's almost self-explanatory. Darth Vader has a few different things, because the thing is, I call it Vader Strangle. So you just sit there and watch your opponent wither, because those dots don't disappear because of his leadership. So we get Moff Gideon to reduce the damage that you're taking, Shore Trooper to taunt, and then of course Darth Vader to slowly strangle them over time. Pretty fun. Or you can do Vader with the new cool IG and Queel, because they have a good tank, or a good taunt, and they also generate damage over time as well. They have stuns, they have heals for themselves, for each other. They probably don't like Vader much, but who really does? The lava doesn't even like him. Vader with Zalbar on mission, that's the old school lineup. This could work also really well because they generate dots. They also have a passive taunt and an active taunt, mission, does a lot of cool stuff. A lot of damage, a lot of dot generation. In 3v3, it seems like that might work pretty well. Now, one thing that I'm very interested in, I might put an Omicron onto Krennic and try to go with TIE Fighter Pilot, just because they're getting lots of bonus turns, they're getting lots of assists, and TIE Fighter Pilot is going to take a lot of turns on his own. This team seems pretty dynamic with TIE Fighter Pilot's Datacron at level 3, or level 9. Now, one thing that I like about this, Finn, Biston, and TIE Fighter Pilot. TIE Pilot's going to be going a lot. He's going to be generating a lot of bonus turns, and Biston has a 4-turn frenzy, so TIE Pilot can keep taking specials, and Biston can keep just taking turns, stealing turn meter, all that stuff. Finn is going to, he's there to provide potency and offense, 30% of each, pretty good stuff. Now Dash, I think that this is the lineup that I'm going to be using in 3s. Dash with Vander and Young Lando. I think this team is going to go crazy, actually. Young Lando does a lot of damage, but then you can also, depending on which Cron you have, you could either be handing turns. Vander and Lando are both characters that you use to target, so you can do the targeting one where you can generate a bunch of extra offense on Lando, or you can just have Dash take infinite turns and destroy your opponent. Just kind of cool stuff. Let's see. Dash with Han and Chewie, we talked about that. He can do his basic and call them to assist all the time, which is pretty neat. Let's see, so Veteran Han, I put him with Resistance, I guess, if you want to. You don't have to do that. Put him with Veteran Smuggler Chewie because he's also Resistance. Just kind of an interesting byproduct of, Finn is giving him a ton more offense, and then Veteran Smuggler Han is also generating a ton of offense as well. We have, so for Empire, we have... and this isn't actually on the Datacron or on the infographic. So, we have the Starkiller team that is going to be able to keep reducing their cooldowns because of Mara Jade and Emperor Palpatine, which is pretty cool stuff. Their cooldowns are going to keep reducing because of the Datacrons that they can get for level 6. So Veers and company, Piet and Dark Trooper do a lot of stuff. You guys can, there's a lot of different things you can do with them, honestly. They can stack some offense. I forget, they can get more turn meter if they wanted to. They can do a lot of cool stuff. Grand Inquisitor and company, Iden Versio. You guys get the point. A lot of good teams in 3v3 for Empire. This is going to be a very interesting set, folks, and there's going to be a lot. I think Dash is going to be central because he doesn't miss. He can just spam his AoE, keep spamming it. Han doesn't miss either. It's just going to be an interesting time. Starkiller doesn't miss on his specials. These guys miss all the time if you're not careful, which I guess is pretty standard for troopers. So let me know what you think of this Datacron, of what you think of this guide. I hope this helps at least just kind of, get you started, get you going. I was really hoping this would be brief. Obviously kind of false, but there's a lot to say about Datacrons, guys, if you want to go in depth. There's a lot more to say as well, but I'm going to let you go. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Zareth prevails.